3D Miss Piggy Acrylic Nail Art Tutorial by Hotpinkzebrapolish. Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to be showing you a Miss Piggy nail art design, and it kind of goes along with my Kermit that I did yesterday, so if you missed that one I will put a link to it in the description box below, so check that out. Otherwise, I hope you guys like this design as much as I do. I have at least a couple Miss Piggy shirts. I know I have one that says I love diamonds, let's see what it says, I love diamond shopping and Kermit, I think is what it says. Anyways, I love this, so I hope you guys like it as much as I do, and don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future videos as well. So to begin with, I'm going to start with an overlay of a sparkly white acrylic, and like I said in the Kermit video, this one is off-white that's kind of in the teal greenish family ever so slightly. It's just a very, very subtle hue over that white. It's just so it's not quite a bright white that looks a little bit chalky and unfinished sometimes. So I add that over in the background, and then I'm going to be encasing the entire nail with a layer of clear acrylic to make sure it is nice and strong. And that does, depending on if you do use a glittery background, if your glitter is a little bit like a layered kind, it may not really like to be filed, so it's important to add that clear acrylic on top of it. And then with a file, I'm going to be filing my nail into shape. I'm using a pretty coarse bit to begin with, and then I'm going to switch to a finer bit just to make sure that it's a little bit smoother and easier to sculpt on. But I do like to start out with a coarser bit, especially with acrylic. And I use Koopa clear acrylic, and for some reason that seems like it's a little bit harder, so a coarse bit is crucial if you're using that particular one. Some of them seem to file a little easier, so it just depends on what you're using. But for me, a coarse bit is key for filing my clear. But then I'm going to be sculpting my little Miss Piggy with Cover Pink. I'm going to start out her face. So if you're using a different color background, one that has a lot more of a actual color to it, so not a white or an off-white like this, you're going to want to add a layer of white acrylic underneath her face, because a Cover Pink isn't 100% opaque, at least most of the time. If you have one that's 100% opaque, ignore what I'm saying here. But otherwise, if it isn't 100% opaque, you're going to need to add just a background color in there so that or a base color underneath the Cover Pink so your background color doesn't show through. And then with pastel yellow, I'm going to just sculpt the very start of her hair. I kind of did her hair in several layers, so this is just the very beginning here. And then I'm going to be sculpting her dress with blue. The blue that I'm using is like a primary blue or a royal blue. And so I'm just going to do that in the background, or not in the background, I'm going to be doing that. As you can see, I have just a little bit of her neck kind of sculpted down, so leave it so it looks like she's got, her dress has a really deep V in it. You know, she's trying to catch Kermit's eye. She's trying to, you know, show off a little. So just make sure that you do leave that deep V. And then with more of the Cover Pink, add her little ear sticking up. So that's why you did her hair in layers, because her ears kind of sneak out in the middle of it. So you got to add the background of her hair, and then you're going to add the foreground of her hair. So make sure that between those layers you don't forget her ears. And as you can see with the Cover Pink, you can see where her hair is underneath there, because you can see the yellow through part of it and then you can't see it. So that's kind of how you can tell if you need to add the white underneath it, if your background color was really a deep color. And then add a nice little oval for her piggy nose. And then add her other shoulder and her arm that is in front. So she's turned to the side. She's like at a 3/4 view. She's looking over her shoulder. So you can't see the one arm so much, but her arm, that's her left arm, is really behind her, but her right arm is really in front. So make sure that you do sculpt that nice and prominently. And then I'm going to be doing the rest of her hair with more of that pastel yellow. So it goes over the top of the base of the ear and kind of wraps around just a little bit, and then curls up a little bit on the ends. The funny thing about Miss Piggy is that her hair can be, she's not always this yellow blonde color. You know, you can kind of play around with her hair. Sometimes I've seen her where she's got a different wig on and she's a brunette, so you can do some different things with her. And as far as her clothes go, there's so many iconic Miss Piggy outfits that you can do. A lot of times you see her in a Marilyn Monroe style white dress with pearls. That was my other idea, the one I thought I really should have done that, but you can really play around with her. She's so glamorous that you can do lots of glitter with this. You can really have fun with it and dress her up however you like. Feather bows are always a good choice as well. And then with acrylic paint, I'm going to be painting her details. So I'm going to start out by adding her eyes with white. Her eyes are kind of tilted down half circles, and then add some blue eyeshadow above that. When you add the blue eyeshadow, try to match her dress as closely as possible. For me, my blue paint is a bit brighter than the blue acrylic that I was using, so I can use that blue to highlight her dress and give it a little bit of details. And then I did add that little string of pearls, like I said, is usually seen with her Marilyn Monroe style dress, but it's just so iconic, I figured I had to stick that in there anyway. And then go through and add some details with black, like her pupils, some outlines around her nose as well as her nostrils. and then just kind of go through and outline everything. When I did Kermit, I made sure that he was very well outlined, so he was very easy to see. I'm going to do the same thing with my Miss Piggy, so I'm going to be adding her smile now. Add a little bit of pink in there for her mouth, or red, pink or red, either one really works. Touch up the outlines a bit more, and then I'm also going to be doing some outlines around everything else, so around her face, around her hair, around her ears, dress, the whole thing, just to make sure that everything is really easy to see. With the pastel colors of the cover pink and the yellow and then that background, if you don't do much for outlining, it's really hard to tell what you're looking at. These outlines are really what makes it stand out as Miss Piggy, otherwise it can kind of get hard to see what you're looking at. So just make sure that you do all of those. And with her hair, you can also add some white highlights if you like to make it look like it's a bit shinier. That's also an option, but just make sure you go through and don't forget anything. When you do her ears, add a little bit of that fold line on her ear. I did sculpt that in, but again, it's hard to see it, so just make sure that you can with the paint. Sometimes when I'm doing things, I don't like an outline because I want to keep it more realistic looking, but when it's something like a puppet, like a cartoon or something in this family, outlines just sell it. They just make it so nice. And make sure you have a decent brush for outlining, and if you dilute your paint slightly, it'll make the outlines go a little bit easier. Sometimes if your paint's too thick, it just doesn't work very well. And then apply a layer of gel sealer over the background and matte top coat over your little 3D Miss Piggy. I hope you guys like this design as much as I do, and please share any recreations with me on Facebook or Instagram. If you did miss yesterday's Kermit video, I will be posting a link to that in the description box below, so check out that if you didn't see it, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!